Well, here we are again. Thank you for joining me. We are looking at the grade 7 A2 piece today, Popcorn, which is a very quirky little piece. It requires quite a lot of energy to play through because it's quite fast. In fact, Allegro Assai 168, the marker at the beginning, is very quick indeed. Although it says in the footnotes you might prefer a slower tempo at 144, this would be considered acceptable. If it's in the footnotes, they're saying it's okay to play it slower. So I'm going to play it at 156 BPM because to me that's a happy compromise between the two extremes. So let's have a listen to it today, and then we'll get together afterwards and talk about how to play it. Right, here we go. I'm just going to check that tempo. Okay, there we go. There you have it. So let's go back and discuss. Going back to the beginning then, you'll notice I've got these pages spread out here as photocopies, which is fine for an exam situation. Oh, I'm turning my pages, I'm in the wrong place. Hang on, what's going on? Right. Page 1. We have got these stabs at the start. So we've got to be very careful to make sure we have that as a nice plucky, almost like a staccatissimo effect, very, very plucked. We have treble clef, of course, in the left hand, so do keep an eye on that. That will change halfway through page 1, of course. But in the meanwhile, we're just concerned with getting those nice stabs, trying to bring out the accents a little bit more than the other notes. That sort of effect. What have we got? That kind of effect. So it's basically a medium volume, isn't it? It's just got the stabs on the accents a little bit stronger. So you're bringing out some character there. You've got to be careful not to play it all the same, otherwise you get this... It's all a bit samey, isn't it? So just make sure those stand out. If you find it hard to even do that, you could always deliberately play the other chord softer, to get contrast. Like that. Just to really reinforce that sort of feeling in it. So we carry on then. Bar 5 is the same thing. Bar 6 is fine. Bar 7, we have that kind of descending thirds. And 2 and 4 fingering there is what I was doing. And if you're not used to doing something like that, which probably you're not used to doing, because how often do we play things like that? I would just practice it slowly. There's two approaches to playing staccato like this at speed. You can either pat the hand very quickly like that, which tends to work well. To me, that's the easiest way. And the other way, of course, is flicking the fingers very quickly, as if there was dust on the keys. So the two options are, either flicking or bouncing, or a combination of both, like flicking and bouncing as you go. I prefer just hammering it like that, really. To me, that works. Obviously, everything is staccato at that point. Don't get too hung up on every single fingering suggestion here, because actually I'm finding myself quite often doing something slightly different, and I think at grade 7 level that's okay. So we find ourselves now having looked through the first half of page 1 without too many problems. We finished on those C major chords in bar 8. Be careful on the tenuto chords, the ones with the dashes over them, because you've got to be careful not to play them staccato by accident. Don't go, make sure you give them their full value at the end, and that they will occur every now and then. Now, getting on to bar 9, we have a contrasting section here. It's a little bit more legato, and it's certainly softer. So I don't think you necessarily need to pedal here. You can possibly, it doesn't tell you to, but it sounds a little bit more romantic. It's kind of prettier, isn't it, at that point? So you could, if you wanted to, I think, do it like that. Then we have to be careful in bar 11, because we've got contrasting articulation here. We've got legato, which is, of course, just a G major scale in disguise. And the left hand is more percussive. And of course, those accented notes there are quite interesting to sort of bring out more. And of course, that last bar is the product of the crescendo. You might even find yourself playing it forte at that point, because there's a fine line at this point in the music between medium loud and loud. If you're building up from here, it was quite natural to play it very loudly there. Anyway, that's that section, nothing too concerning. We get on to bar 13, and we're maintaining a kind of, we're softer now, so, and dolce, sweetly, so. Be careful about pedalling in this bar, because although it feels like it wants to be pedalled, we've got those staccato quavers to watch. So we could do a dab of pedal at the very beginning if we really wanted to. And then, but you've got to be careful. That left hand is legato continuously. So I would probably play it to start with, certainly without pedalling it. I don't think it matters to pedal it here, really. Then you get that nice crisp staccato. Now the accent there in bar 14, it obviously wants to stand out a little bit, but it doesn't have to be violent. It just has a bit more presence to it. That's the way to think of it. Obviously, the next accent in bar 16, 15, yeah, 16, is probably a little bit louder, because you're crescendoing at this point, aren't you? You've got that crescendo in bar 15, so. And then as we carry on, sorry, I'm losing my place a little bit here. Then the next page, again, is similar stuff. So basically just keep an eye on the articulation here. That's all that has to be said on this. The nice staccato bits at the end. But again, watch the tenuto chord at the end of bar 20. Don't come off too soon. And there you have it. That's that section. So in fact, just working up to this point might be a good idea for a while. Let it settle down. I'm always saying, don't feel like you have to rush through the learning process of your pieces, especially at this level. it is better to really focus on getting one section really down well. Of course, if you're thirsty to get through the piece, you can carry on, can't you? So let's talk about the next section, which is kind of recapping the beginning anyway. So if you work really well on the first page, it's going to have a knock-on effect later anyway, because this is the same. We can hear that's the same. Perhaps one thing we should talk about at this point is the slight variation from what we had earlier as, which was relatively simple. Sorry, I'm playing it wrong. That was the earlier idea. This idea, 3/2, or I should say 2/3, quaver pairs over triplets. Now, you might struggle with this if you're not used to doing it, because you've got this kind of, you've got to maintain the beat. At the same time, so how are we going to do that? A good way of learning this is to think of it as tapping. Tap it on your knees. I'm assuming most of you have knees. And so basically, elephant, 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 elephant. That's what I use to do for triplets. And in the right hand, biscuit, 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 biscuit. So what I'm going to try and do to start with, I'm going to try and focus on getting the second quaver in each pair to work with the left hand. Elephant, 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 elephant. That offbeat feel to it is the hard part of it. Playing them together at the start is not difficult. It's that second pair, that second note in each pair of quavers. So slowly it would be this. If you tap it on your knees or on a table, elephant, 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 elephant. And as it gets faster, the effect is felt more accurately. So if I play it, elephant, 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 and its speed, that's what you're getting. And in fact, you can play this very slowly. You've just got to be careful that there's that slightly different chord at the end. There is a suggestion of making sure that the 5 is on G in the left hand in bar 27 halfway through. Be careful, because you need that to get to that slightly different chord at the end. So bar 27 is probably the bar that could take a bit of time to get good at. Even though musically it's simple, to actually play it is a bit challenging. So one last recap on that. And in fact, when you practice this, although it is staccato, it doesn't matter at this stage, even if you don't play it staccato, because you're practicing just the rhythm aspect. Elephant, 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 elephant. I keep playing the G major chord at the end. G7 at the end of bar 27. And then we have, and all is well. So now we're about to start another section at bar 29. It feels like a key change here, temporarily. Well, for a while actually. We're going into an A flat broken chord. Now I'm deliberately playing this slower just to illustrate this point. There's a couple of notes you've got to be careful that you don't miss. That E natural in bar 30 and the C. Those underneath notes from the melody, just be careful. That's the sound. Fingering here that's written in is good. The thumb is on the D flat, crossing over to C of the third finger. So a good exercise here would be just to work on the right hand and really make sure you're playing it very legato without pedaling it to start with. Also notice the thumb is held on the E flat at the start and then. That's the feel of it. You really want to try and get a good legato sound there. Even though you're pedaling, it's good to have the stability of a legato touch. So I'm going to play it slowly so you can just hear it. I'm doing wrong fingering. The 5 and 2 that's written there is a good idea. Here it comes, 5 and 2. So let's take it up to speed. I did the wrong fingering again. Obviously it's building up, and then we have this SF, very loud. But be careful, because suddenly we've got subito, S-U-B, subito, suddenly soft. So loud. Very contrasting as well, pedalled half of that bar and then not pedalled. That's the sound we're getting there. And then as we carry on, bar 37 is still soft. You don't really need to pedal that. Yeah, don't pedal any of this, otherwise the staccato will not be heard. That's fairly straightforward, although I found the left-hand part there a bit weird at first. Just getting used to that from bar 37 to 38. Because the 5 is held. It's a bit weird. Just to get used to that, so be careful. But that's the idea. Yeah, I found that particular bar a little bit fiddly. And then we continue. And be careful here, you've got a G double sharp in the left hand. No, you haven't. You've got an F double sharp in the left hand, which is really a G. Diminished chords. And once again, that tenuto chord at the end. Make sure you don't come off too soon. Then, as we go into bar 41, it's a development of the earlier idea we've just seen. It's very similar to what started in bar 29. So again, legato touch. Watching for those lower notes underneath. Make sure you're playing this without pedalling. Just to test yourself to make sure it's played legato. I don't think we need to talk any more about that section. It does say at bar 41 as well, of course, pedal in a similar way, similarly. So that's the effect. And it's very important with this type of music to bring out the melody. Don't let the left hand get too loud, too choppy. Make sure it's underneath. But you being grade 7 players, you will know this already. Okay, let's now go from, actually, we'll go from bar 48, where we've got that sudden loud bit. And then that contrasting idea, very much like the earlier bar 36. Then, be careful not to pedal in 49, remember the staccato notes involved. Now, the thing about this piece is that although we've got the copied music on each side here, it is 6, how many pages? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 pages. Am I going mad? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 pages. It's 5 pages long. So either way, you're either going to have a lot of music laid out, or you're going to need to consider maybe turning the page halfway through. Now, you might think, how am I going to do a page turn when the music is running so quickly? What I would suggest with this, be brave, potentially, and consider doing a page turn at page 7. What you can do, when you've played bar 49, if you can memorise these 3 bars in particular, did you see what I did there? I was turning the page as I was playing those bars at bar 50 basically. But you're going to have to practice that a lot, because if you fluff it up it's going to cause you to come to a complete stop. So it takes a bit of bravery, but I think I would encourage you to do that. You might even want to build this into your practice very early on. So rather than learn the piece from the beginning and eventually get to this, actually you could start practicing this from the very get-go so that you get really good at it. So that by the time you've worked through the piece and you get to here, you can suddenly play it and there's no issues. I would suggest you consider doing that. So it's a clever little way of dealing with a page turn that's tricky. And you will find this in other pieces. Is there an opportunity to turn the page a little earlier or a little later? And you know, if I memorise a few of those bars, then that allows me to do that with confidence. And I'll demonstrate it to you at speed so you can hear it being done. I mean, you saw me play it earlier in the video anyway. Get the idea? I've already turned the page. By the time I'm playing, you know, I'm already there. So that's how to deal with a page turn. You obviously need to make sure the pages are actually folded like this so you can actually grab them. Because if you don't do that and you're grappling for it, that's another problem. So I tend to put corners on the pages at the bottom. That's a nice quick way to turn the page. Okay, so we've talked about that. Treble clef right at the end of that page as well, at the end of page 7. So we're recapping now the same idea as the beginning. Bar 53. But watch the rhythm, because what we then have is in the next bar. Sorry. Now again, the bringing out of the accent slightly more than the other chords is a good idea. That might take a bit of practice. Also, again, watch out for tenuto minims there. So we're holding down those notes afterwards. Oh, sorry, I'll go from here. So far, so good then. That's what's going on there. Now we reach a point which is a little trickier for a few bars because we've got these semiquavers coming in at bar 60. You know, that might take a bit of getting used to. Other than that, nothing too concerning. And then this, of course, is a sweeter section now at bar 65. It's a bit like earlier. Yeah, that's the one. We've already talked about a similar section earlier, haven't we? So just bring out the accents, keep it smooth, don't play it too loud. Watch for the crescendo in bar 67 because it's gradually building. What have we got? Oh, I'll try not to hit wrong note. And there we have it. That's that section completed. So, you know, you just need to keep on compartmentalizing this into doable chunks. You don't have to always look at a whole piece and think, oh, goodness me, this is going to take ages to learn. Just break it into sections. You can even get a pencil and mark off the end of each section, you know, like, right, where's that section changing? Where's that section changing? And it can sometimes help you deal with what seems like a lot of work. Okay, last section, bar 73. Again, very much like earlier. The term leggero there, which we've seen earlier actually, suggests lightness, but MF is a medium volume, and we've also got the accent. So it feels slightly contradictory. It feels like a word that doesn't quite correspond to what's really going on. But just keep it at a medium volume. It needs to sound playful, basically. That's the essence of what's being conveyed here. Oops. Watch that. That change of chord. And of course you have that same issue with the 2/3 going on here, don't you? That kind of in bar 74. Again, elephant, 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 elephant. I know it's a weird way of doing it, but it does work if you do it like that. Same in bar 76. I'll carry on to the end. Bar 77 then. I keep forgetting that G7. So be careful there. So we now reach the poco meno mosso section, which is just basically slower and not so rushed. It's going to be quieter too. Although we've got accents written at the start of the bar, it does say piano, so we don't want to be crazy loud here on that first chord. The idea is that that chord just holds into the next bar. The C is actually lasting as you continue. So make sure that the C is still down throughout those two bars. And obviously the left hand is tied into the second bar as well. In fact, if we look very carefully in bar 82, we can see a tenuto note there, that little line under the A flat. It's almost like an implied bit of stress. Da, 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 da. It's a little tiny detail, but it's there. Finally, that very cheeky. That's another thing you could actually practice very early on, is just learning the ending. I often suggest this to students. You don't always have to wait till you get to the end of a piece to learn the end of a piece. You could even, start very early on learning the poco meno mosso section. Then you can almost look forward to it at the end because you know you've already learnt it. It's not going to give you too much stress. Quite often in exam pieces, people have practiced the end of a piece the least. You've done the first page hundreds of times, but the last page you might have only been working on for the last month before the exam or whatever. So maybe work on that last section. And I'll play it one more time for you. That cheeky little... Well, we've talked a lot, haven't we, today about this piece. It's a far more involved piece than some of the earlier grades to learn. And if you're still watching, well done, because it's a lot to watch. Oh, the dog's barking. It's all going on. It's time for a cup of tea. I'm going to say thanks for watching, and I hope what we've been talking about has been helpful to you. If you haven't subscribed, please feel free to do so if you'd like, because there's going to be more videos coming up soon along the lines of this and lots of other things. Okay, take care for now. Bye.